After big snowstorm, there's nothing better to sit down with a college professor and discuss the catechesis or the new catechism. I have Dr. Joe Scandrett, or the Reverend Dr. Joe Scandrett from Trinity. You've worn many hats over the last several years. You're a professor at Trinity. You were on the catechesis task force. Tell me a little bit about what you do at Trinity.
I'm a professor of historical theology, but my main job is to direct the new Robert E. Weber Center for an Ancient Evangelical Future. Mm-hmm. So we host an annual conference, and we're developing catechetical resources for churches. Okay. And that takes up pretty much all my time when I'm not writing catechisms or helping to write catechisms.
Well, catechisms have a long history, and the Anglican Church in North America just published a new one, and you were on the task force to write it. When somebody says, hey, can you write a new catechism, what's the first problems you have to overcome?
Well, there are a couple of questions. What purpose is it for? And really the original mandate of the task force, the original reason why it came into being, was to recover catechesis for the church in our time. I think there's a lot of recognition from many parts around the church that this has been a major lack in the church in the 20th century, and much of the problems of the church in our time are coming as a consequence of Christians not being adequately catechized. Mm-hmm. So we set out to try to recover the catechumenate, the office of the catechist and the catechumen, those in the process of being shaped in terms of spiritual formation and doctrinal formation in the church. And we took that idea to the College of Bishops, and they said, well, let's get started first by writing a catechism. So it really wasn't on anybody's radar. So the mandate really came from the college to us to do this. And we began looking at antecedents, precedents in the Anglican tradition. What we saw was that many were mainly used for the confirmation of youth. They were quite short. And what became clear was that we needed to do something on a far larger scale, really geared toward adult catechesis. And that's what this catechism is geared for, is to really be a full-length 7-course meal, not holding back on really the essentials of the Christian faith within the Anglican context for adult Christians.
Well, since about the 15th or 14th century, catechism has been a priority use for how to educate our children in a such. Luther is famous for his long and short forms. I read your catechism last weekend. You also stuck with the Q&A type format. Why do you think that works best?
We tried to stay with the precedents in our tradition that followed the Q&A format. It's possible that there could be other approaches, but that's one that's recognized and honored by a very wide variety of people, not only within our tradition, mm-hmm. but within other traditions that use catechisms. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the standard form, and we decided why broke it if it ain't fixed, and go ahead and use that approach. So
one of the criticisms Luther had of his own catechism is he says the catechism cannot work by itself.
That's right.
And you have to bring people into the church and be instructed and hear the instruction as it's taught through the catechism.
That's exactly right. And from the beginning, the goal of the Catechesis Task Force was to develop a network of catechists throughout the whole province that we would assist in training and encouraging, coming together, perhaps an order or a society of catechists. And that's the context in which a tool like the catechism and other possible tools, it's not as if catechists are limited to this particular document. They might use a variety of tools to achieve their goal. But the goal has always been to develop a network and a community of catechists, which is where you must begin in recovering the catechumenate. You can have a catechism, but if there's nobody out there to actually teach it, then you've got real problems.
Well, the early church had lay catechists. That was a role of the church, and maybe we can reinstitute something like that in the Anglican Church in North America.
Absolutely.
Now, when you put a document like this together in a large church like the Anglican Church in North America, you're going to have people that go, oh, geez, I'm uncomfortable with this type of wording and stuff like that.
Right.
What have been some of the chief naysayers to this? Not who, but what? Don't name names, but what are some of the complaints about the Catechism? Because you're going to get it because it's such a wide spectrum.
Right, that's right, and we've gotten responses from all over that very spectrum, as you would imagine. So it's actually been encouraging to us and confirming that we achieved our goal, because what we find is that we have those leaning toward a more Catholic expression who see it as maybe leaning too evangelical, and those who are evangelical thinking it might lean too Catholic. And our goal was to try to develop a document that could be used by anyone within our province, within our denomination, regardless of where they came from. Now, might there be some at various ends of our denomination who won't be satisfied? Inevitably, that's going to be the case. Yeah. That's just a fact. Our goal was to capture those maybe in the middle 80% or something, if you think of the 10% on either end or whatever. I hope that's an okay way to put it.
Oh, I'm sure Luther had his detractors too.
Exactly. So,
nobody's going to hang you for this.
We had we had full representation of all the various streams within our denomination on the task force, and also within the writers that we called to help us with the project. So,
well, one of the first responses I got from a viewer was, "It's very Wesleyan." Well, okay, I can't disagree with that. I mean, I hope our church uses it. I'm going to give it to the vestry and recommend we buy about 20 copies. Now, can you get this? Where can you get this now?
Right now, you can download it from the ACNA website. I think actually, I don't remember the URL off the top of my head. Maybe you can stick it.
I will post it there, yes.
There's also, very importantly, we're in a 2-year feedback process right now. This is one of several documents of the ACNA in which we're receiving feedback for 2 years before we try to bring it to a formal and official status where it's finalized. And there's also an email address on that same webpage on the ACNA website that people can contact us to give feedback.
Well, I got an email from a bishop in Africa who said he was going to start using it. So,
we've had people just waiting to translate this into a number of foreign languages. Actually, I think we might see, God willing, it'll get great use in the ACNA. We already know for a fact that it's going to get great use with many of our partners throughout the Anglican Communion.
Okay.
That's very exciting.
Now, you're not done yet, though. What's the next process?
We will, as far as the Catechism is concerned, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll be receiving feedback for 2 years. We're in the process of figuring out how to streamline that editorial process so that the whole task force doesn't have to continue to be involved. So we're going to be determining a smaller representative group of people who are especially gifted in the editorial and with strong backgrounds in Anglican theology to finish that process. That is yet to be determined. But at the end of that 2 years, we will vet, just as we did the other input from all our participants in the initial writing process. We're going to vet those comments within us and also in relation to the College of Bishops, which we've done from the very beginning, and God willing, we'll arrive at a even better product than we have now.
Well, I personally want to thank you and the task force for the great job you've done. Just an incredible amount of work you guys had to put in over the years, and I can't imagine being called to such a task. And just want to thank you again.
Well, it was an amazingly difficult, challenging, at times really overwhelming, but at the same time amazingly blessed experience for all of us. So we really sensed the Holy Spirit in our midst and the Lord leading us, and that was a wonderful thing.
Thank you for your time, and we'll speak to you soon. Yes.
All right.